record. All right, we're recording. Tanner, good to see you.
Good to see you, Will. Will Walker.
Will Walker, yep, A Walker, and you are what, T Rickers?
You just call me T, I'll call you W.
That's great. So we are in our second negotiation for the semester. Today's the employee exit interview. I'm playing the role of the employee, A Walker, and you are
T. Roberts with Jameson and Associates.
There you go. So with that being said, I would like to begin the negotiations.
Excellent. Well, I'm so sad to see you leave.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed my time here. Obviously, family's moving to California, so need to make the change, and excited for new opportunities out there, but really thoroughly enjoyed my time here and the great company. I know you're fairly new to the organization, but it's a great place to work and have nothing but great things to say.
Well, awesome. Well, I wish you the best in your future endeavors. So there, I guess I want to ask, what are you hoping as far as this exit interview and the termination? So I kind of thought of three things that you may be interested in. One is getting paid for your sick leave, obviously. You have 25 days that you didn't use. Your termination date is something that is probably important to you when you start your next job. And then you have 200 shares that you bought back at $50 a share, which are now, I think, trading at $100 a share. And so you probably, we'll buy those back from you as a company.
Absolutely. So I am prepared. I was prepping all of my my paperwork and talking with the wife, and came prepared today with a proposal for you on what we will be able to hopefully agree on for the compensation for those open items, and also mutually agree on a final termination date.
Okay.
So,
when are you hoping to move?
Yeah. So, well, you know, I am committed to working through the year if necessary, but the wife's moving out in a couple weeks, so you know, November 31st would be kind of a natural fit for me, but wanted to talk through a few of the open items as it relates to those liabilities that you all have in relation to my PTO and open stock values.
Okay.
Positions. So I prepared an initial offer for those if you're open to hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So my current daily wage is $400 a day. So that times the 25 days owed would be $10,000. So that's what I had in mind for the PTO. And then I know you referenced the 12/31 stock value for last year at 12/31. Given the fact that it's November, we're pretty close to this year's 12/31 par value strike price as well. So wanted to propose $120 per share for the 200 shares. As you may be aware of, I know again it's fairly new. The stock price has gone up about 20% a year, so really interested in that. And then that would all be with 2 weeks effective today, wrapping up at the end of November, allowing for you all to start the hiring process and get somebody to backfill in before the start of the year.
Okay. Our policy is that we pay sick days as when it was accumulated, which according to that, it would be $6,500 instead of the 10,000 or $260 dollars a day. And so that's what our policy is. That's what we typically do, unless there's some um, circumstance which would deem otherwise. Um, how do you think your performance has been over the last couple of years? Obviously,
Yeah,
you're
no,
making a lot more than now than you were when you started here. So,
yeah, as you
talk.
as you know, I've been promoted a couple times. You know, have had nothing but really positive interactions. I know last year's annual review didn't go quite as well as expected when it was documented, but I think that may have had something to do with the individual who conducted that interview. I was not the only employee that had an issue. Obviously, there was the one instance where my colleague was involved in some sexual discrimination by an individual,
Mhm.
and they've since been terminated. So I'd like to remove that data point from kind of my career file here and really focus on the track record. As you've seen, again, came in making 260 a day, now at the 400 mark. So I know there's a kind of a loose policy around starting salary, but in the interest of kind of getting this wrapped up and getting things out the door, would I've heard that there's been times where existing salaries have been honored. So
Mhm.
flexible to talk about that, but I don't think that my starting wage at 260 reflects my 5 years tenure here at the company. Necessarily makes sense as
Yeah.
we look at those. And there's also a value opportunity for me. My wife is moving out at the first of the month, so if I was to stay on with the company through December, I'd likely just take 2 weeks vacation, have that paid out, and stay on and take the first 2 weeks of December to help her move out, and then come back and finish my tenure. So that's kind of how I feel on that. If we're not going to be able to reach a better strike price on those days, then I'll just stay on board and utilize that as actual time off.
Okay. Um, yeah, we can talk about that. So, um, first two, and then you'll stay through the end of the year, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and then that would also enable me to take advantage of the stock price at 12/31. If we
Mhm.
can't agree to the 20%, we don't know what that value is going to be yet, but I know the company's had a really good year, and has been trending even greater than 20%. So
Mhm.
keeping the valuation at a 20% annual increase is really where I see the value in that. And again, if we wrap things up by 11/31, you guys don't have to pay my um, medical insurance costs and things like that. So I think there's a real
Mhm.
benefit to both sides and kind of getting this wrapped up by 11/31.
But you still have some open projects that we want to get finished by the end of the year as well. So, um, if
Yeah,
if you do,
I think that there's nothing that can't be completed in the next 2 weeks, especially as I build out a transition plan, um, and you guys can begin the hiring process.
and we'll need at least a month to hire the new employee. So, I don't know if I mean it's all up to speculation on how much the stock price is going to go up, right? So, yeah, we may have had a good year, but it fluctuates. 20% is pretty aggressive. So, what I think would be what we could do, you have 25 sick days instead of your 2 weeks, right? Well, I guess you're not going to be sick. So, um, what we could do is we would just give you the those instead of paying you the 25 6 days. Well, we'd count that as towards the end of the year. So we would not pay you a for your sick days, but you could take that as vacation, or as pay you those sick days not being there. Does that make sense?
So you're proposing me taking the 2 weeks of taking 10 of the 25 days towards helping my wife move or keeping me employed for a month.
Yeah. So we wouldn't pay you out. Um, let's see. Yeah, essentially we would allow you to take some of those to lower the amount that we're gonna to help you out, to help your wife move. Um, but instead of giving you the $260 a day, you'd be able to still make your $400 for 5 of those days. So essentially, you have 2 weeks of vacation, you get another week off, but then we'd stick it at 260 for the remaining 20 days. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I don't necessarily see the value of those days at 260, especially if I'm going to be staying on with the company. So I either need to use those or we need to come to an agreeable price. 260 is just not acceptable for 5 years tenure for me.
Yeah.
So I'd
And
ask that you propose if you don't feel like the current wage of 400 is acceptable. I'd request that you propose a number that makes sense for you all. It's not 260.
yeah,
And
so yeah, I mean, the policy is the policy, and your review just did have you listed as an average employee. So I don't know if there's a lot of stock behind the giving you your full salary when we have a policy in place, just to protect the company from things like that. What we could do is, instead of giving you we can't give you what we can do. I'll do what we can, not what we can't do. So $300 a day, and then we will average out the stock price to 115 per share.
with an 11/31 termination date.
Yep. I'll give you that time to be with your wife.
Okay.
That way you,
So I think that's a great starting point to build off of. I think a blended average for the PTO makes most sense to me. So if you take the average over the 5 years, that gets you to $330 a day. So that's a nice middle ground for both of us. It's equitable. It is the average, as you said, if I'm a quote unquote average employee. So was thinking 330 for the 25 days, it'd be 8250 on that. And then on the stock price, on a $120 valuation at 12/31 of this year, I'm willing to take 11/12 of that valuation on the incremental 20%. So the value would be 118.33 per share. And that would be $23,667. And my 2 weeks would be effective today, with the understanding that I will create a plan to transition, assist in any of the build out to hire the position, and then be a resource going forward. Continue my dedication to the company. If there's anything you guys need from me as I transition and move, I'm not going to start work immediately in California to get the family settled. So I'll have some bandwidth to assist in the transition for you all.
in getting a new person hired. So
Yeah.
how long will it take you to get a new person onboarded?
Well, the standard protocol there is 2 weeks, but obviously we'll have to do that remotely. I'll prepare a very detailed transition plan. Again, with our business cycle, most of our projects are wrapped up at the end of the year, so we're getting close to mopping everything up, and it's a really, really good opportunity and kind of perfect timing in my eyes for the company to transition this role into to someone new.
Hmm. So 2 weeks, yeah, that does not give us time to hire someone. I just don't know. I'm afraid that's not going to be enough time to be able to get someone hired and then onboarded in those 2 weeks. So I think we have our policies there for a reason, and
Yeah, 2 weeks is the
all
standard policy, though. It's standard notice.
as far as sick leave and stock buyback is kind of what I was referring to. So the I mean, it's all up to speculation on whether or not the stock's going to increase or not. So
Well, we
um,
both know we had a really good year this year, and 20% is the blended average for annualized growth. So there's still some upside for the company. I think we've had a better year than any we've had since I've been here. So I would think it's safe to say that the stock price is probably going to go up greater than 20%. I think this is just using historical data, and it's a very fair and applicable way to apply evaluation
yeah.
based on historical data.
So would you rather have? Does it matter whether you would rather have stock price or your sick days?
Yeah, I think the 118 valuation on the stock is very important to me because it's really a solid data point.
Mhm.
And I think that makes most sense. There's still some upside for you all there when that price is when you guys strike that price at 12.31, and then
Mhm.
going back to the PTO, I think that's just a very fair valuation for everyone. It is the average. So um, I know that policy has gone in a variety of directions as far as there's no real standard policy on what the PTO is paid out of. It's at the employer's
Mhm.
discretion at the time of departure for the employee. So in goodwill, I'm offering my services and help as we transition, and for that
Mhm.
I would be greatly appreciative of that average valuation of my compensation over the 5 years for those 25 days, and then again the strike price on the stock, pretty fair valuation of my perspective there as well.
Okay. Run some numbers here. Just give me a second. I'm running some numbers. Minus.
Seems very transactional.
We got to make sure that we're able to cover. Um, Obviously, I have to report out to the managers on why I am going against policy. Right. That one time that we had that one employee, it was a not a normal circumstance. It was
Well, if
so.
I recall correctly, she just kept her stock options as an employee, like no longer as an employee. So it's not really what I'm asking for here. I'm more just asking for a fair valuation on the stock price. And then again, that PTO policy is very loose based on my understanding. So again, I know you're kind of new to the company here, but historically
Mhm.
it seems like that range has been kind of all over the board. So asking for the average seems like a pretty fair proposition to me as we look to move on.
Okay. Will you be able to? So I don't know how long it's going to take to. I mean, you said 2 weeks to get someone onboarded. Making $400 a day. It seems like there's a lot to transfer, a lot of knowledge to transfer. So we could give you the average daily, the average for your stock or for your sick days, and then give you your the $118 a share for the stock price valuation if you're willing to work towards the end of the year. Or we can just go back to the $300 a day, and then we'll give you time off in that November 31st or November 30th. I mean.
Yeah, so if I'm going to stay on through 12/31, I likely am going to just wait for the strike price on the stock at 12/31, um,
Mhm.
just because I know that there's some upside there. and then we can pay out the PTO. I think there's more to gain on the stock price than the difference in the PTO. So we can stay with the average there. And
go against company policy.
I'd be curious for you to reference the manual where it actually spells out that there's a fixed rate for the compensation on those dates, because there's not. So anyways, I think there's fair upside from the company for me at 11/31. Again, I've offered in good faith to continue to help with the transition beyond that. And if not, then I think that's, probably makes most sense for me to just take the PTO, help my wife move, and then I'll stay on through the end of the year.
Okay. All right. Well, I've had a fun conversation, and you've been a good employee. Accumulating 25 sick days in 5 years, only given 5 sick days per year is pretty good to be able to stay on the whole time, not taking any sick days. So we'll go with the average sick days and the $118 stock price.
That's great.
You get out of here and start helping back up.
Well, I think that's great. I think you're really gonna net well for that. And again, I'm here to help you guys through with the transition of this role, and hopefully continue to do business with you all as I move into my new employment opportunity in California.
All right. Well, good luck in the move, and we'll settle on that.
Best of luck as you near your first year here.
All right.
All right.
2 years.
2 years.
Oh, 6 months. My
6
bad.
months. All right.
It seems like it's been longer than that.
I know. It's all good. All right.
All right.